Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJ and TV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJ and TV Insiders. Good evening and welcome to our show tonight here on DJ and TV. We're also broadcasting on some of the PBN TV channels for the photo booth industry, because tonight we're going to be talking with Jerry once again about what's going on in the whole business loan world for the small business owners. Jerry, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Glad to be back here again. What's this, week number 3 or 4 for us?
It's at least that, yes. Just it's been a busy time, and there's going to be more busy weeks as we go forward. So we want to make sure we're giving you out there, the viewers, kind of an update of what's going on, so you can be aware of the different things that are happening for our businesses and what we can possibly do to help get through this this crisis situation. So, Jerry. Since last week, there's been some information that's come out, and there's a lot of different information that's floating around right now about different loans and things that are available for small businesses. Let's kind of dig into that a little bit and talk about what's going on with that part of the process.
Yeah, I think most DJs, and I've seen a lot of things out on the boards there, that the Treasury Department released the payroll loan application and has released information about the payroll loans. And again, we still have the disaster relief loans and the emergency fund loans that are out there. So let's kind of walk through what each is intended to do. The disaster relief loan, which is a direct loan from the SBA, is really intended to provide you working capital to get through what is happening right now in the marketplace. So if you've had loss of income, you're trying to just kind of meet your bills, and you know that income is going to be replenished at some point. Let's take a mobile DJ. Weddings are canceled for April and May. They're being rescheduled for September, October. You know the income's going to come in. This is short-term gap funding that allows you to keep the lights on, food on the table, paying your mortgage, putting gas in the car. There's also another bridge loan type basis. Again, same model, where it's allowing you to get some working capital on a short-term basis. Some of that may be forgivable on the emergency bridge loan, and we're still waiting for the details on that. The one that seems to have got everybody's attention is the payroll loans. And that I need to clarify for everyone, because we're seeing more information come out on the payroll loan program. That program is really intended for 3 major points. Number 1, you have a going concern business. You are still in operation. Number 2, you're going to retain employees so that during this time of crisis, you're not laying off people, and it's a supplement payroll to you continue to see your revenue stream increase to pre-levels prior to COVID-19. So we all have to kind of step back a little bit and say, what's really the most appropriate thing for me? And some people are looking at the payroll loan as a way to replenish lost income as a sole proprietorship or an entrepreneur or a contractual worker. And that's really not the intent of that payroll loan. The intent of the payroll loan is to keep businesses with employees employed and not putting them out, laying them off, putting them on on the unemployment system. So we need to kind of step back and look at what those are. If you're trying to look at a particular loan and trying to make it work for that purpose, you're most likely not going to get approved. So really kind of step back and take a look at really what does your business need if you're looking for the SBA for help. If you truly need working capital to keep your business afloat and not necessarily pay employees, which is a good majority of us DJs out there, then the disaster relief loan is really the one you've got to be focusing in on. Yes, it does have repayment terms. It does have an interest rate. But again, it's really the purpose was designed to give you an interim bridge loan to finance during this crisis. And hopefully you'll get the money in the long term.
Jerry, and I've talked to a few people about the disaster loan versus the payroll loan. And one of the concerns that a lot of our small business owner friends have is that disaster relief, because there's repayment, because there's interest, the phrase kicking the problem down the road, in essence, and then having to have that payment and other payments all kind of at the same time. And yet our income isn't back to where it was pre-COVID times. Is that type of a loan something that you end up having to start to repay now, or is it something that you don't have to repay until starting like a year from now, or how does that work?
Yeah, there is a deferment piece to it, up 6 to 12 month deferment piece to it. So yes, if you do get the loan, you don't have to start repaying it right away. And again, read the SBA website very carefully. There's a lot of information out there, and there is a deferment piece to the disaster relief loan. Let's again look at it. I had $20,000 worth of gigs that I had to have rescheduled for later on this year, early part of next year. I've deferred that income. So therefore, this loan is to help you bridge the point between when you're here now and when you have that deferred income. If you plan right, you know that $20,000 is going to come in. You can use that to pay off that loan. So really, what you're doing is you're getting a bridge or a gap until that income comes in. If you've lost that income because they've canceled the events and they're not going to reschedule, okay, then how are you filling in the gap later on? And I think, again, we're looking at the immediate point of we're having gigs and events canceled, but I'm also hearing very clearly from a lot of people is corporate events have postponed. Yes, we've lost the proms with the schools. We've lost the school dances. We've lost maybe some of the anniversary parties, some of the daycare gigs, but down the road, those things are going to come back. And so when you're looking at that is what is the income you think you're going to make? So it's going to take a little bit of planning on your part to kind of sit down and do a long-term forecast. I think, oh my God, I lost this business. I got to go out and apply for one of these loans to replace my income. Are you sitting down and looking at the long-term forecast of where you're going to be 6 months, 8 months, or a year from now? If you think you've lost this income and you're never going to recover it, and even with what you've got coming up, do you need not to get a loan? But like you and I were talking earlier, John, is it that sometimes you look at another source of income, whether it be a part-time job, or we've even seen some DJs go back to some full-time work. So
Yes.
This is a point of reflection. It's tough when you're a small business owner. You're going to have these ups and downs. And if you're going through your emergency fund, you're going through your slush fund, you're going through your rainy day fund, at some point you've got to sit and make that hard decision. So,
and I think that's a decision that more and more are going to be having to make. That will I need to go back and take a job and go back into a part-time status? And that's not just in the DJ world. I think there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs who are in that realm. And just because, as you're saying, some of these shows are rescheduling or postponing, but then you hear from some medical experts that there could be a second wave in the fall, and where would that leave us and such? So there's so many questions out there.
Yeah, and we're all feeling the pinch, even us that are there's so many people on commission in the car dealership world, in the sales world. Look at real estate agents. They can't do open houses. They can't do loan closing. So we're all feeling this, but we're also looking at, we've got to tighten our belts a little bit. We're getting some of that. We're not traveling. We're not going out to eat. So we're inherently starting to save. I mean, I saw somewhere in Ohio, gas is now down to 97 cents a gallon.
That today.
I mean, $2 savings per gallon. Yes, I looked at my gas bill. My gas bill is normally $250 a month. My gas bill last month was $47. So, there are, and again, this is where you're taking the time to sit down and look at your budget, look at your finances. What are you spending, and how can you kind of manage it? I mean, the other thing that is also available that people have started to explore, and this came to me from Ray Bald, who's the managing director of Cummings & Lamont, very large accounting firm, He said some people are looking at their retirement plans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way the relief was written in the tax law is you can take up to $100,000 this year of your retirement, and as long as you put back a third every year, you will not be hit with the 10% payment, and you will also not be hit with recording it as income. So you almost can create yourself a self-directed loan by using your retirement. So let's say you have $20,000 in a CD because you're weary of the stock market, or you have it in an investment that you can get easy access to. If you take $12,000 out, which replaces your gig income for 2 months, and you pay back $4,000 a year over the next 3 years, it's less of a hit. Yes, you're not going to earn the 0.75% on the CD, or maybe you won't earn a little bit of growth and dividends, but again, it still allows you the opportunity to access funds, and the government's giving you this other option, which I would highly encourage people to start looking at. You know, again, it's another piece. It's not going to affect your pocketbook. It's not going to affect your wallet. It's going to give you another opportunity to kind of bridge the gap between now and when you start doing the events again, and when it re-kicks up.
When you can start to replace that income. And that's typically that 401k is something that's like a sacred thing you don't want to touch, and you don't want to be doing anything with it because of penalties, what have you. So for some folks, this could be a great opportunity, as you say.
Yeah.
One of the areas you wanted to kind of hit on tonight is giving some the paperwork. And I've had a couple of people asking about that part of it. What would I need to be able to go into my bank? Because some of us as DJs, beyond going and getting an auto loan or whatever, signing something at the auto dealership when I bought a vehicle, that into my mortgage, and I haven't taken out a loan at a bank in probably 10 to 15 years. What do we need to have together to come and see someone like yourself when it comes to these small business loans?
Yep. You want to have 2 years of your tax return. You want to have sort of your budget. What do you intend to do for income this year? So where's your profit loss statement up to pre-COVID-19, which we are targeting is February 15th? Kind of a loss of what you've lost in income or where you're going to see it. So if your weddings and your events are postponing until September, October, maybe a month by month budget of, hey, I didn't have any income in March and April, but beginning in May or beginning in June, here's where I predict my income every month. What we're looking for in the loans in this crisis is the sustainability of your business. Okay. We want to know that you have a plan that once we return to some semblance of normality in our economic condition and our lives, where you're going to now regenerate this income from. So having that information is really good. Historically, it will show us that, you've had a very successful business. You've been generating income. Okay. Banks rely a lot on historical information, as it gives us a guidance as your ability to manage the finances of the business. And that's a real key piece. We understand as bankers, this is unprecedented times. And when we look at it, we're going to look at it very open-minded. We're going to realize that the world came to a halt, that the United States stopped operating in a business world because of this virus, and we're going to make those concessions. But looking forward, we want to know, what is your plan to make this business viable? What is your plan to continue? And if your plan is, I'm going to continue to be an entertainer, but I'm also going to look to supplement my income by taking a part-time job, or maybe doing some other things, or like you said, adding photo booth, because maybe some photo booth companies aren't going to continue. Maybe there are some DJs that are going to go out in my market that I'm going to pick up extra work. And we know, John, that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah,
we know there are guys, I know in Maine, where you are, Chicago, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, a lot of the single guys are going to say, you know what, I can't do this. If the people are canceling, you need to find another DJ. We're going to have some work that's going to pick up. It naturally happens in any recession or bear market that we're in right now.
Yeah, and that will be kind of that balance, because you'll have a situation where you'll have some of the experienced people, semi-experienced, 5 to 10 year people, what have you, that step out because they're like, okay, I can't. This isn't going to make me money, and I don't love it enough to. I go find that job to keep things happy at home, and then you'll have some people who are needing to supplement income and are going to look at the DJ profession as easy money, which,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just the way it goes.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Jerry, we've got a question here. Eric had a question here. He was filling in some of the disaster relief loan information. And in one spot, as a mobile entertainer, it asked for the income, of course, and then it asked for cost of goods sold. And it was asking for, he had to put a number in there. And I would guess as a mobile entertainer, because we don't sell things, that would be a zero.
Put a zero.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He would put a zero in there because again, you don't have cost of goods sold. So again, the forms that the SBA uses cover a wide variety of industries. So think about, when you fill out a Schedule C on your tax return, there is a line for cost of goods sold.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's a zero. So, yep. So just have them input a zero in that column.
Okay, I think that answers the question. Another comment from someone mentioning that DJs that don't show any income on their tax forms are going to be they won't be able to do anything with this whole process.
And let me clarify, whether we're in this process now or we're not in this process, if you asked me that question a year ago, I would tell you wouldn't qualify for a loan. If you can't show income, regardless of whether this is the pandemic, COVID-19, economic recession, if this was the best of times and this was a year ago today, and you asked me that question, you don't show income, I can't give you a loan. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my 30 years as a commercial lender. And I've said this repeatedly, and I say this in all sincerity, and I don't mean it in a negative way whatsoever. If you choose to take advantage, which your accountant rightly should do, of limiting your tax liability, there's a balance between limiting your tax liability and what you qualify for a loan. I get a paycheck. I can't tell my employer, hey, I don't want to pay too much taxes. Do you mind giving me an envelope with cash in it this week to pay me rather than giving me a paycheck? That's the same thing. You have to balance it. And I will tell you, the majority of DJs out there, the majority of small business owners are extremely honest on their tax returns. They realize, hey, you know what? It's part of doing business.
Right.
Think about it right here. If you're not showing any income in your business and you're constantly showing losses, you're hurting yourself for Social Security. You're hurting yourself for a number of different things, and especially looking alone. Then what really you have to do is, if you're going to have a business where you're going to limit your tax liability as much as possible, the steps that you take to do that, you then got to be self-funding so that you can have that emergency fund for what may happen today. So there's two sides to the coin, and it's something I've dealt with in my entire career with small business owners. It's you have to find that balance that you feel comfortable with. But if your main goal is, I don't want to show any income because I don't want to pay any taxes, then you have to have a plan in place that says, I'm going to make sure I reserve for a rainy day, and I'm going to have to self-insure myself against the slowdown in the economy.
Yeah. That unfortunately, that self-insurance, a lot of people didn't kind of do that. So Jerry, for people who are, we've got two different directions I wanted to go. We'll hit this one and then the big one here, of what to do the next week. For people who are thinking about going out and looking for a second job right now, just something that may get them, over the hump here, just to bring some more money in, or maybe they're going to use this time and say, you know what, it's time I need to make a career change. For those who are just looking for some additional income, will that hurt any of the process if they do qualify for some disaster assistance?
Not at this point. I don't see anything that I've read that them going out and looking for additional work and income. In fact, it probably would help them, because again, the banks are going to look at, what if you do close the business? What if the SBA gives you this disaster relief money and you don't get up to speed as quickly as you think you would? Having that additional income and support can only help you. It can't hurt you.
Yeah, of course, Day mentions that there aren't jobs available. And that was kind of my thought too, until we started looking around this afternoon after the first, I've had two people contact me today, mention that. there are places that are still hiring and such right now, and there's a few places that are hiring, and they're like, okay, we want to get people lined up. Construction specifically is in our area.
Yep.
They want to get
Yep.
people lined up because as soon as they can break loose in about 2 weeks, they're hoping they want to have crews ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, John, look at the grocery stores. Look at
Oh
the
yeah,
pharmacy. Look at even I saw Domino said they were going to hire 10,000 people across the country for delivery. I
yeah.
mean, yes, there's a risk in that. There is. I'm still seeing help wanted signs out there for businesses looking for support. So
Another question here from DJ Bright Eyes asking, they have two incomes. One is a regular job, and then of course full-time DJ. Would they be able to qualify for any assistance for the lost events in April and May?
again, let me clarify to him. You lost the events. It's lost income. What you have to look at is that income going to come back? The loan isn't to replace lost income. The loans from that are out there are to help you sustain yourself going through this process. So I got to make it clear to the DJ community. Yep. There's no loans out there that are going to give you what you lost in income. You know, as a bank, what did I lose in income from from not doing loans? What does a contractor lose in income because he can't get the house completed? There's nothing in our society that can replace that lost income. What is being offered through all of these programs, the payroll program, the disaster relief program, is to provide you a gap funding until you get back on your feet. That's what we're looking for, okay? When you enter the gig business, when you enter the wedding business, when you enter the event business, you've lost that. Think about a theater, okay? If they're not showing movies, they've lost that income.
Yeah.
They can't replace it. If I'm doing a show at a theater, a live performance, and those have been canceled, those seats are lost.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot replace it. But a local community theater is looking for some help because what they want to do is they want to keep minimal staff on. They're trying to provide some entertainment via webcam, via Zoom and so forth. And they want to keep the lights on and the doors open so that once we return, they can put on productions without having to shutter the theater 100%. So again, this gap funding is so you don't have to look at it and say, I've got to pull my shingle down and close the doors. So I need all the DJs to understand you're not going to replace lost income. That's not going to happen. What you need to understand is what is available to me to get me through this hurdle. What's the best way for me to do it at the minimal cost so that when we watch the brides walk down the aisle and we have everybody out on a dance floor and at the end of the night, that client hands us a check or hands us a tip, we're regaining that income. We're reintroducing our income stream to our business.
Okay, last part, and then we'll wrap things up here, Jerry. What should people be doing from today between now and basically next week when we get together again? What should there be process? What should they be looking for? What do you suggest?
I think they really need to be sitting down around the table with their family or their spouse or their significant other. What are you doing to look at the long-term forecast? What do I have in the bank? When do I see income restarting back in? And what seems to be the best possible step for me? Is it truly a disaster relief loan? Is it me taking out some money from my IRA? Is it tapping into that emergency fund? And where am I really going? So before we all run out and start applying for loans or applying for all these programs, taking a hard look at your business. I had a great conversation with a business owner today. It's a dental practice. Mm-hmm. And what he said to me was, he said, I don't want to apply for any of these loans. He has 2 locations. He said, what I'm looking at is what would really help me, Jerry, is if I could lower my interest rate a few basis points and get my payment down. I know I can make it through this.
Sure.
I've got enough money to keep my dental assistants on staff. We can afford to have our doors closed and not see a patient for another 60 days. But would really help is getting a few basis points knocked off my loan. And we're working through that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So why I felt good about that was he took a real hard look at his assets. He took a real hard look at what he was doing. He said, you know what? I'm going to forego that $100 bottle of wine. And you know what? Hey, maybe I can't go get that expensive bourbon that I drink every month. We'll go to beer for a little while.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll make
I
it
think
work.
about, what we did back in 2008. And I had a very large distributor in my portfolio. And they said, if you walked in this warehouse, you would have seen all craft beers. They said, now people have gone back to Budweiser and Miller and this and that. They didn't give up the beer. They just switched brands. Well, let's think about that. Let's not give up, but let's think about what we can do and switch to get us through these times. What are the things we're thinking about? My family loves to go out and eat. We did.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter's finding a whole new world in cooking at home. She's Isabella's 15 years old, and I'll tell you, she's a fantastic cook.
Nice.
She made a great dinner last night, and she's having fun. And she's looked at me. She said, Dad, why do we always go out to eat? The home cooking is great. Well, take that sort of same model and think about your business. What are things that you could do that were different? What did you do in 2008 when the economic crisis hit? Those DJs that were around, what were the things that you did back then that made you survive through that period? It's a lot different now. Yes, we're talking a pandemic. We're talking about a country shutting down, but we're not talking about shutting down forever. I think everybody wants to get back to work. And I think the leaders in our country are doing everything possible to make us safe and secure, but get us back to work. And that's what I'm reading. That's my 2 cents and my public opinion.
What kind of things, as a last thought, you mentioned, of course, figuring out money to get you through a period of time. What kind of time limits or time situation are you hearing from the financial world as far as how long should a person be planning to be able to survive off savings?
We're looking at 90 days.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at. When we're doing loan deferments, we're looking at 90 days. So we're deferring loan payments on commercial loans that customers have come to us and said, we've shut down. I just had a conversation with the president of a large chain of restaurants. And he said, I'm thinking positive. I'm hoping May 4th comes and we can start to slowly open up. And this was interesting. They've got a number of restaurants throughout New England.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Jerry, if May 4th happens and the governor says, all the governors say, hey, we can start to reopen and we can resume business. We're going to start to reduce social distancing. Let's get some stuff. He said, I'm not going to reopen up every single restaurant all at once. What I'm going to do is start a few at a time and get us back up to speed. And I think that's what we've got to be thinking about is, okay, we're not just going to say May 4th is here, we flip the switch, but how do I get myself back up to speed? How do we get back up to speed? And I think the optimism is that we're going to get through these next 2 weeks are going to be the roughest. And then hopefully we flatten the curve and we're starting to see the downward decline and we can return back. So, and the doctors are right that maybe we have this under control. We might see a resurgence back in the fall, but hopefully we've now gotten to the point that we can manage it much, much better than where we are right now.
For sure. That's what we're hoping for. Definitely hoping for. Jerry, thank you much once again for being on. If you guys get a chance, Jerry was interviewed for an article on DJ Times. It will be available. They had to do a couple of edits on it because of changing information here today. But it should be up, I'm hoping, tomorrow. You can go to djtimes.com and it should be there. Otherwise, go to their Facebook page, DJ Times, and check it out because there was kind of a good interview there with Brian and Jerry and some good information. So you guys can check that out. And then, of course, if you want to jump in, we had Joe Martin gave some tips last night. You can check that video out on our YouTube channel of how to save some money in this particular time with cutting that $8 cup of coffee out types of things.
Hey, And John, I will also share with you, Brian and Connor and I just talked briefly. I didn't have the schedule for the DJ Expo seminar, but he's now talked to me about possibly lessons learned from this situation and how you can prepare for the next economic downturn. So we're working on that right now. And as soon as I get confirmation from him, we'll share it.
We'll talk about it. You will.
I would certainly love to just kind of have an open forum with the DJs at the DJ Expo. So more to come on that.
For
and
sure.
certainly whatever we can do. So thank you, everyone. Be safe, be well, and be healthy.
Yep. Thank you much again, Jerry. Thank you guys for watching tonight. We're going to be back. I'll be back in about a half an hour here. We're going to be talking about adding a photo booth. I'm going to go through some specific things as a business owner when you want to add something to your wedding business. We're going to look at that specific instance of that and give you all the numbers and things to think about, which, of course, hopefully in a few months, you'll be having this discussion with your significant other about adding to your business. Once again, Jerry, thanks for being with me tonight.
Thanks, John. Be well, everyone.